Hello, everyone, and welcome to Artists in Residence. This is a series that the Galleries at Moore is doing with our recent graduates, the class of 2020. And we are checking in and learning a little bit about what the COVID-19 experience has been like for them and how what it was like to wrap up their semester and produce their final thesis projects under these really unusual circumstances. My name is Leah Komsky, and I'm the Education and Public Engagement Coordinator for the Galleries. And I have with me today Kiara Riley, who is our graduate assistant in the Galleries. And we have Emma Cortellessa. She is a recent graduate of Moore's BFA program in illustration. So Emma is an illustrator that is based out of South Philly, and her work usually depicts animals. She has talked a little bit about how animals as a subject matter give her the opportunity to really play and experiment with different textures and colors and shapes. And though, her work is often based off of, real life wildlife, she infuses a pretty dark sense of humor, I would say, in a lot of her work. And her senior thesis project is a really good example of that. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of this work. So can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Great. So the ABCs of Life, 26 Things We've All Thought at One Point or Another, is Emma's adult novelty ABC book. And let's see, we'll go a little further in. So as you can see, she has these really amazing, anthropomorphic depictions of animals that a lot of them just seem like they're up to no good, and there's these really sort of funny, slightly misanthropic observations and thoughts that she includes on the page as well. So since, the impetus for this project is really first and foremost to check in with our students and, to record what this experience has been like for them. The first question that I have for you, Emma, is just how are you doing?
I think I'm doing okay. I think that every day is different because, it's a weird thing because although we're living in a time where the least amount of stuff is happening, I feel like I'm going through the most amount of emotional change and most amount of emotional turmoil than I have ever felt in a really, really long time, probably ever since I was a teenager, I think. But today I'm doing okay. Other days not so much, but today's all right.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of us are taking things one day at a time.
Yeah.
Or even an hour at a time. Some days are like that. Well, so can we start by talking a little bit specifically about this project? I'm curious to know, what is it that draws you to the children's book genre? What is appealing about that as a vehicle for your art?
Well, I think that children's books and children's illustration, I've just always really, really liked it. And I really haven't really thought about why until very recently. I just think that there's just a lot of room for you to be imaginative, and there's a lot of room for you to be as stylized as you can. Because I think that certain genres of illustration, I think that sometimes there might be more of an inclination for you to think more conceptually. Sometimes I think there might be more of a push for you to think realistically in terms of your art. But I think that children's illustration just gives you a wider range of choice. And I think that it's also something that can be enjoyed by everyone as well. You know, the stories may not always necessarily appeal to adults. Like a lot of the times they definitely do, like Where the Wild Things Are, which is probably a really great example of that. But yeah, like I said, it's just something that can appeal to everybody, and it's also something that, you know, you think is really memorable and that you can hold really, really dear to yourself. It might be something, you know, like that you love the illustrations as a kid and you love them just as much as you're an adult, even though, you know, while you're an adult, you don't enjoy the same things that you did as a child. And that's a huge reason why.
Mm-hmm. Are there any children's book authors or illustrators that you really enjoy or are really inspired by?
Yes, absolutely. John Klassen is probably my favorite. I actually have one of his books here. John Klassen is one of my favorites. He might be better known for his Hat trilogy. This is not my hat. We found a hat. They're all very funny. You know, sometimes he does incorporate some dark humor, like in his first book. Not to spoil the ending for everybody, but the bear eats the rabbit that stole his hat, and it's just, and the illustrations they're just very joyful. I think that these days, you know, I've noticed like a trend where people try to like stray away from dark subjects, especially in children's illustration, because, you know, the world is pretty horrifying. Why make it more horrifying? But he doesn't do that. He just kind of hints at it in a subtle way, and I think that his humor is it's very appealing for adults and children. As well. He does a lot of sight gags too. I love sight gags in children's illustration. I think it's much better to show it rather than just tell it in the story. And my other big influence is Tommy Ungerer, who just recently passed away only a few months ago. And he probably reached his like peak fame in like the 60s. And he ended up being kind of ostracized from the children's literature community when it was found out that he also just drew porn as a side gig. So he was kind of ostracized, especially in America. But his books were all very, very dark because he grew up in a very dark period. He grew up in Europe during World War II. And so, you know, like he saw a lot of his, you know, like close ones, a lot of his loved ones pass away, unfortunately. And, you know, like, although his books are very funny, you know, like Crickdoor is one, The Three Robbers is another. There's also something kind of dark about it too. And it's just something that I really respect him for.
Do you think that did your senior thesis project like change its shape at all as a result of having to shift your workspace from your studio to home, or did it really like sort of retain like the structure that you had planned for it?
Well, I think that at the base of it, not much had changed at that point. I feel like I'm very fortunate in the sense that I work digitally, so the transition wasn't too difficult for me personally, and I'm very thankful for that. I think that the thing that it really did end up changing in the end is that around February, I was just very, very excited for, you know, the ending. And by the time that I finished my last spread, it just felt very, very underwhelming. It didn't really feel like I had finished it. And who knows what I would have felt if none of this had happened otherwise. And I think it was mostly because, you know, when things started to get really bad in March, I just kind of stopped working for at least like 3 or 4 weeks. So like by the beginning of April, I should have been done, but I didn't finish my thesis until at the end of April. So I had to finish things. I had to rush things towards the end. And that was very difficult because, like I said, I feel like that might have contributed to, I'm glad that I'm done, but I don't feel like I'm done type of feeling.
what were you like doing during that downtime? Like, were you like, just like, were you thinking about the project, or were you just trying to like push it out of your mind? Were you just like Netflix and chilling? Like, what were you, what were you doing?
I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything. Well, I think we, you know, when spring break started, I was just, you know, like use that as an excuse to, just like not really do much, just go out for one last time, I guess.
Yeah.
And then when we found out we weren't coming back to school, I was like, okay, so I kind of just laid in bed for a week, and then Animal Crossing dropped on March 20th, and then I played Animal Crossing for 3 weeks straight. And then I left my island. And I haven't returned to it since.
I have a similar question. Sorry. Can you hear me? Cool. How did you find the energy to like get back to working after like, you know, experiencing a global pandemic, et cetera, et cetera?
I think that what really ended up happening is that I'm the type of person where if I don't do anything for a while, that's kind of when my anxiety starts to kick in. And sometimes my anxiety prevents me from doing work, but most of the time it propels me to do work, because I know that the one thing that makes me feel better, that can help me rectify it, is that if I do something, if I do anything, because then at that point I can justify to myself not doing something later. Like, I started to get back into things just by like trying to find the joy again in just drawing. Because before, like, the thing that had prevented me from doing it was just kind of, what's even the point anymore? You know, like everything's horrible. Like, what's the point anymore? And then I just kind of like had to teach myself, and at the same time, face a lot of my own emotional turmoil in order to just find the joy in that again. And that's basically what worked for me. I just had to scare myself into doing it again, I guess. I always come back to it. It might take a while, but I always come back to it.
That's like incredibly admirable.
Yeah.
That's really inspiring. Yeah. Because I know, like, it's difficult to, I mean, you shift back into that like working mode, and then, you know, it's hard to like regain that balance again. And I think, I don't know, it's a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah. And the problem that I ended up facing when I started to get back into it again is that I started doing too much.
Yeah.
Started doing too much of it, because my schedule for, I guess, probably about like the latter half of April till just maybe about like a couple weeks ago, whenever like we graduated that week, I would wake up and I would just work through the day, and I wouldn't stop working until midnight, because I felt like every second not working, I would have to be thinking about other things, you know, like thinking about like, you know, like what's going on out there and what's going on in here and what other people are thinking. And it's all very scary, but as long as I had something to do, it prevented me from thinking about it. And then I realized like that wasn't healthy either. I was at the exact opposite place I was, you know, in March, and I never had time to settle and just focus on me, which is something that I just recently started to try to do again. But it's very difficult.
Have you sort of like carved out a workspace for yourself where you are right now, or do you have a studio space, or are you just like working in a corner of a room?
I am literally working in a corner. I don't know if I can like move this at all, but so I live with Brianna Hayes. I don't know if you've met her yet, but I literally just like work in my room, And my studio is literally just this corner in my room. I literally have a corner desk. If you can see that. So like I literally have a corner desk, and this desk and also this little tiny bookcase here is basically the space that I have. That's my studio setup. It works.
Did you have to do any like weird adjustments to like create this sort of studio space in your home? Was it like a really weird and strange process, or like pretty smooth?
Well, I've always had the desk here ever since we moved in. What I it's gonna sound really sad. What I did whenever we were able to get our stuff back from Moore is I tried to make my studio space look as much as my desk at Moore as possible. So maybe I could just try to pretend we were back. It wasn't weird. If anything, it was actually pretty nice to just have a little bit of, of all the normal stuff around me. What I really missed, just like looking up whenever I was like, okay, it's time to take a break now. I just miss like looking up at all the pictures that I have of my friends and being like, someday we're gonna meet again. But yeah, it was nice. It's nice. Sometimes it's hard to sleep in the same room that you work.
Yes.
Because you think you should be working while you're sleeping, but it's 2 a.m. But other than that, it's nice.
Relatable. Very relatable.
Yeah.
So like, can you tell us a little bit about like what you are prioritizing right now in your art making? Like, have you noticed like a shift in your interests at all, or do you feel like you're still sort of interested in pursuing the same types of projects in the future?
Yeah, so that's the one thing that I've just been having a lot of problems with, I guess. That's just like one thing that I'm really just trying to figure out, just where to go from here. So I've just been trying to do what I like to do, but do it in different ways. Like there were things that I remembered when I was working on my thesis project that I really enjoyed doing, like making my own, animals. And, like there was a point where I was making like these little greeting cards too. And that was like an idea that I never took anywhere. So now I'm just kind of thinking like, well, what can I do that I really enjoyed about my thesis work and kind of bring that over while things are the way that they are. But I haven't really been able to prioritize things as much as I'd like to, because I just have so many ideas in my head and directions that I want to take that I write them down and I still don't do them. It's just something that I have just personal difficulty with when I have a bunch of different ideas.
Yeah, I feel like it's difficult right now for anyone to land on any certain plans for the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, right? Like we're all still sort of like recalibrating, and we're going to have to do it again.
Yeah.
In a few months from now. It'll be a process for a lot of us, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Are you working on anything new at the moment, or?
Yes, I am. So, I've been, I can share my screen maybe.
Sure.
Yeah. And, so this is what I've been working on today. I've been trying to, just enter just some contests just so I can get some, just make some like money on the side and stuff like that. So I'm doing a audiobook cover. So I can't talk too much about it. But this is just the idea that I've had for it. It's just it's just like this little kid with his bike, So this is just one of the things that I've been working on recently. I've been trying to, I don't know what the right way to say this is. I've been trying to, I guess, make things that I think would appeal to, I guess, more people, because I can see how sometimes people might be turned off by the dark humor thing, even though that's something that I really like. So I'm trying to, I guess, kind of do both in a way. So I just try to make this, just very cute and very joyful. So yeah, that's basically what I've been working on. Some other things that I've been doing that I can't really share just because I don't have them with me is that I've just been trying to teach myself some new skills during this time too. So I started to, learn After Effects a little bit because I wasn't an animation major and I wasn't an animation minor either, but I was just like, I just want my things to move a little bit. I just think that would be fun. And I also started to do some hand lettering stuff because I want to get into that too. So like I said before, I have a lot of different ideas in my head. I just have a tough time prioritizing things because I figured like this time is, it's both. It's not a blessing at all. And I don't really like the idea of curses either, but it's just given me the time to do some things and explore some things that I haven't really done before. So that's what I've been working on recently.
Is there anything in particular that is bringing you energy or inspiration right now? Like, have you been like anything, like any music or art or movies or?
I've been listening to a lot of Orville Peck recently. That cowboy music is just really getting me in the mood to draw. I don't know why.
It works.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just feel like country music has just been like so guarded by like these old white guys for so long. So I feel like he's just like made this cowboy music just open to a queer audience, and I just really love it and I dig it. I appreciate that. So that's one thing. The other thing is just I just feel so happy to draw again. I guess I don't know if it's just from being inside all the time or I don't know what it is, but like I draw to work on stuff and I draw to decompress, and I haven't felt like this in a long time. So just like the action itself is just very motivating and exciting. So yeah, Orville Peck and the joy of drawing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I can, personally, I can relate to that feeling. I remember graduating years ago with an English lit degree, and I love to read, but like, obviously the circumstances were very different. But I still felt like after graduating, like I was rediscovering, the pleasure of reading. Like it was just like without, the pressure of deadlines and the freedom to really do, explore anything that I, wanted to. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. It's so relieving that, I mean, like you'll always be able to come back to, like that one thing. It's just very exciting. And the only thing that I'm afraid of is losing it again. So I'm just going to try to keep doing what I'm doing, I guess. I don't know.
It sounds like you'll hang on to it.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about you. Did you have any other questions, Kiara?
This is kind of like a random statement, but when I was looking at your work, it reminded me a lot of like Isle of Dogs, the Wes Anderson movie. And like I was just wondering, are there any other like TV shows or movies that inspire your work or that you're even like watching right now?
I haven't been watching, the only TV show that I've really been watching recently is Jeopardy, so, and I don't think that it has too much of an impact, but, yeah, I mean, I would probably say that, this can sound really lame, but like, David Lynch, I guess, has just always been a huge, I guess, visual influence, for me, and a very big storytelling influence for me, because like he just likes to do really like weird and crazy things. And one thing that I always remembered while doing my thesis project is the opening sequence to Blue Velvet, where it's just like that guy, he's on the on top of the fire truck, and he's just like waving, and he's like smiling like this, and there's like the white picket fence with the flowers, and it all just looks so normal, but everything is just kind of like, everyone's just like a little bit too happy to be there, like no one's really ever that happy to be there. I guess like that type of imagery has always influenced me, and also like Twin Peaks had the awareness of what it was, without really saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess like that type of technique in presenting and visually presenting information is just always something that I strive to do, because I just don't want, like, when I present something, I want the thing to know that it looks weird, but I don't want it to say that it looks weird, because that can get into like very tacky territory, and
Yeah.
I just don't like that. So it's like, I guess like just an awareness about being camp is what I want to see. And also, I guess, without even really knowing it, Father John Misty's music has also made quite an impact, especially just his album Pure Comedy, because it's mostly just about like, malaise and pointing out, all the crap that we see in the world, but just in a very entertaining way. I think that sometimes some observations that we make about things can be pretty superficial without really saying much. But it works. At least someone's saying it.
It's actually funny that you said like David Lynch was an inspiration like for your visual staging, because I was like, oh, this work reminds me a lot of like Twin Peaks in terms of its like color tones, especially like the weirder scenes in which like they're like dreamscapes sort of. Your work reminds me a lot of that like kind of dreaminess that happens in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And all of these, like, I mean, very particular details that you include also, that is reminiscent of Twin Peaks also. These like interesting little like props that appear in your illustrations.
Yeah. I like really putting in like those little I Spy type of things, like where I mean, like you might question like whether or not things are supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was putting this stuff together, Joe would always ask me, is that a crowbar? And I'm just like, yes. And he said, okay, just making sure. I always have to ask with you. So yeah, it's just very fun. It's just very fun to do that and watch people pick stuff out.
Well, I mean, is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off? Any message you'd like to send out into the world?
No, not really. I think I've said pretty much everything important that I guess I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. So thank you so much for opening up about what this experience has been like for you, and bringing us into your room and your studio space, your desk. It's very generous of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we learned a lot. So yeah, I just want to congratulate you again on all of your accomplishments. And, you know, we can't wait to see where you end up.
Thank you.
So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Congrats.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks.